continuous wars happening between Ukraine, Russia, problems between China, Taiwan, Pakistan, India, and then this economic war between China, Russia, and the US. So now, if we look at our own position, we are living in a very multipolar landscape where America used to be dominant in almost every emerging industry. That is not the case. We see that China, in particular, is dominating the world in a lot of industries. You look at the EV car industry in particular. You look at the solar industry. Um, so you see that they have a market share of more than 50%. So it's never the case where any country in the East would start dominating in some industry in the West. But this is the world that we're living in now. So economically, technologically, in terms of geopolitical influence, the the East is coming up, the West, the economic growth in the West is slowing down, and and this trend we expect this to continue. Then another thing which we see is that the top 10 global companies are in digital, IT, AI, or on the energy side. In fact, the eight out of the top 10 companies are in digital and in AI business, one way or the other. So these companies are so huge that they are equivalent to 25% of the global GDP. Now they have almost 40% of the global market capitalization. People who deal with the stocks or on the call, they can easily see the top tech eight companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon in so their capitalization entire world 40%. That's a huge chunk of capitalization. That means these companies have the power, dominance. They can drive, they will drive the jobs, they will drive interconnected businesses because they have the capital to invest. But the challenge is that in spite of the situation where you have these 10 global companies, we see that only 10% of the world economies, that means there are 200 plus countries, only 20 countries are right now growing at more than 5% annually, and which includes a lot of African countries, includes definitely includes China. So where would these companies do future business in? There is only so much business that can be done. So that is why we see that the overall economic growth in the West is slowing down because the opportunities are limited. Why are the opportunities limited? Because only few economies which are growing, and that too not more than 5 to 10%. So the key thing is going to be for future businesses to pick up the places or the pockets where the opportunity is. The opportunity is not going to be massive. The opportunity is going to be very, very selective. The other thing we see, and I think in Sanato Tijarat had already arranged a couple of sessions around AI, the impact of AI, the opportunity of AI. So I'm going to talk much about it. But just a start, that 30% of the current work will be automated in the next 10 years. So that means on average, the productivity increase is about 3.5% per year. So the technology will reshape job roles, not necessarily replace jobs. So 70% of the jobs are still going to be there and not adding more job opportunities, more job openings that will come because of these new technologies coming in. But if you look at historically, now, one thing is the economic growth. The other thing is what is happening to the workers coming in the market. So historically, if we go back almost about 100 years ago, the people were moving from agriculture to industry, to these factories, and this rural to urban migration was happening. Then we saw a large chunk of women entering into the workforce. Uh, and, and this workforce was sustaining the long-term economic growth. More people, more products required, more, it's a bigger consumer market. But what is happening now is that we are going through, especially the advanced economies. I mean, UK is an advanced economy, Western other countries, they all face a problem of the aging workforce. And highly experienced workers are exiting the labor market. Plus, the fertility rate is also decreasing. In our times, our uncles and so on, they used to have five to eight kids, but now even a couple is rare. So this creates pressure on the overall um, market, that you will have fewer workers in the Western markets. But on the other hand, what is happening in Asia, India, and Latin America, that there the the workers coming to the market are expanding, they're increasing. But for how long? In the next 5 to 10 years, they will also peak, and their worker coming into the market will plateau, or they will slightly start coming down. So the it is predicted by 2080, which is still 50 years from now, that there used to be, right now the ratio is that for every four working individual, there is non-working person, which is mean an elderly who cannot work, or somebody is some medical issue or a problem. By 2080, this ratio is going to be 2 is to 1. So there'll be two working people and now one non-working person. So that means the amount of labor in the market would have drastically reduced. Now, this this gap will be covered definitely by automation, but you will still need a lot of people coming into the market. The questions that will face in the market will be that, are the organization ready for an older workforce? How do the jobs get redesigned for people of this age? And where the talent will be needed in the future. Now, since there are two working people, less number of people, so that means more. We need to pick up the pockets where these people actually need to go, and how do we balance between automation, reskilling, and the human capital that we have. So these are the emerging technologies that we see. Emerging means these are already at a certain stage of development, and we see more of adoption happening in the future. So the biggest driver we see is AI and machine learning, which I mean, at the most common use we use in ChatGPT and so on. Synthetic and engineering biology. This again, we see this technology being used to create these vaccines. Plus, things like plant-based meats, where you get the proteins, you get the taste of the meat, but it is not actually meat. So this area falls under synthetic biology. Then similar to similar field driven by biotechnology is advanced therapeutics. Excuse me. So this is a field where the genes can be modified to fix some diseases. So let's say I have a history of migraine problems from the grandfather to myself and the children. Now the technology is so mature that we can find the abnormality in the genes and go and fix it, technically speaking. Then we see augmented reality, virtual reality coming in. These are the trends like you see in the Google glasses, um, where you can visualize the entire area, and you can visualize, you can talk without using your mobile. And 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 this helps in training people. It helps in customer experience scenarios. Telecommunication, we see, is the proliferation of 5G, fiber connectivity, because future telecommunication has to enable environments like driverless cars, low latency environments. Digital twins. A digital twin is to create, as the word goes, twin, that you create like a simulation, that anything that, for example, there's a motorway, and the width of the motorway is, let's say, like 40 feet, how many vehicles um, can pass through in terms of width and per second. So instead of actually physically making it happen, the digital twin will take the different factors and you can simulate that what traffic can be, pass through at a certain particular point throughout the motorway. Semiconductors, quantum technologies, these are all related to AI-enabled chips like NVIDIA, which is one of the world's biggest company as we speak now. Robotics and autonomous systems, they are being regularly used in Amazon warehouses to pick up the logistic bags, delivering onto the machines and transferring it. So this itself is is an emerging field. Particularly, the adoption is very high in the manufacturing industry. Autonomous mobility. This is the concept of driverless cars, which is emerging. So pretty much uh, the cars will be without drivers, and this will all be centrally controlled. So all it's going to be a mix of future telecommunications, of AI and machine learning, and the sensors technology that we see this happening not only on the ground but even in the air, like we talk about robo taxis now. And the last area, sustainable technologies. There is a lot of talk about, the impact of carbon release, which is happening, which is causing, the ozone layer to deplete, is increasing global temperature. So pretty much every industry, in terms of regulation, has been tasked with lowering the carbon footprint, um, adoption of renewable energy as a source, so that the these carbon emissions can be controlled. So this is again a global phenomenon. Although US is doing a lot of doing a lot of lobbying against it, but still this is a major trend. Europe and Asia, they're doing massive adoption. Adoption has not stopped in the US. It has definitely they've only increased, let's say by 2030, there are a certain target. They're keeping it to, let's say, 2035 and 2040. But this, so what this means that in these emerging areas, one way or the other, whatever business that you're into, in terms of your employment outlook also, you need to be well versed or add your skill set in one of these multiple areas so that you can be part of the trend. It's always easy to be part of a riding wave rather than going against the wave. So this is something which we see happening, and the if you look at the UK research and investments, they have selected these industries to be industries where the government is going to be investing heavily. So if we get only picking up certain areas in the mainstream that I mentioned, because these are the ones I've mentioned is about 12 different areas, but because of time, um, I'm only picking up certain mainstream areas. So digital access, which is access of telecom through wireless, fiber or satellite. The It's very important to get connectivity. That is why you see the UK having targets of to reach up to 98% of the entire homes in the UK by by broadband, either through fiber or even through wireless. So it will be core enabler of the business. So that means it is going to generate business for infrastructure companies, telecom companies, to make sure the access is there. And once you have the access, we see that the you need data centers to be able to spin off these applications, host these applications, which can enable the businesses to utilize these. So data center itself is a major trend, and then these applications on top using AI technology to enable the use of these application. It's a thing which we see that is being used right now. It's more of a like a pilot projects going on in different companies, but what we see in the next 2 to 5 years, that these pilots will get converted into, from the SMEs to the major companies, all deploying their the AI-based tools, across the organization. The other thing it is having a big impact is the business to business commerce. Now, I was surprised to see the statistics myself that the business to business deals which could be done by email marketing, could be done by LinkedIn contacts, could be used by Facebook ads, um, search engine optimization, Google ads. 80% of the business of B2B by the end of 2025 will be digital. That's a major percentage. So it's very important for businesses to make themselves to make the sales of the businesses channelize through digital. Um, so any and every, if it is 80%, so that means a mom and pop shop to a SME to a larger enterprise would have to start selling and take this as as a base to use digital channels for B2B. And the trends again to enable this digital selling, AI has a very important role to play in terms of personalization of the products, smart procurement agents. This is going to be the key to drive that. So just to give an example that in companies when we normally get an invoice, so that invoice starts getting processed by the procurement people. And if there is an issue, they would go and check the purchase order. They would manually verify it. Then they will look at the terms from the contract. So all these things to check used to take about 20-30 minutes of an individual. Now, due to the enablement by AI, automatically once the invoice kicks in, the system itself can go and check from like Salesforce CRM whether the pricing is correct, any change to be communicated. It can also check whatever the ongoing inflation rate is. So if the invoice is adjusted for inflation, that's fine, and it can send it for processing further to the payment authority and so on. So that would mean that 90% of the time of the procurement people will be saved. So so a combination of digital channels as well as the use of AI will drive the business to business commerce. In the telecom and the connectivity modernization, we see that all the applications, telecom applications, voice, data, value-added services, they are being, run from, softwares running off the data centers from public clouds. It never used to, happen before, but the trend is going towards that. And that would mean, again, new skill set, a new set of vendors coming into play. Energy efficiency is very big for the telecom. They say that 30% of the OpEx of a telecom is related to power. So any typical base station sites that you see, they are either powered by, fuel, by generators, or by renewable energy. So AI systems looking at whatever the rates are at different time of the day, they can uh, apply these efficiencies so that the most efficient tariff is selected at different times of the day and so on. So this is what we see happening on the telecom side. On the green energy and energy transformation, again, one area, as I mentioned, is the green energy. That means energy coming from solar, from EV, wind energy. They call it green because it's renewable. But on the other hand, energy itself, the demands of the data centers are so huge that in UK they're assuming that they would have to increase the electricity supply multiple times by 2030. So that means more electricity providers, more interconnection point. That means more infrastructure to power up the requirements which are coming in. So I see that energy itself is a huge enabler because of what we commented before, that because of digital access, A, in automation becoming mainstream, B2B commerce going digital, you need energy to feed into this. Say even UK, which had abandoned nuclear power plants, they are uh, looking into using nuclear energy to power these data centers, because now the countries are competing that whoever can provide energy quickly and abundantly. So they're looking at all possible alternates. They were assuming that oil use would get reduced, in the next 15, 20 years. But the demand is so much that even the oil and gas industries are expected to be running full throttle and continue to expand rather than going out in near time. So it's going to be a mix of energy use, whether renewable, whether nuclear, whether oil and gas. China is still using coal because they need to uh, have the industries running because of a demand that they have. Um, Najan Sam, I'm conscious of the time, but I will continue and try to, wrap it up quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So now talking about some of the segments, AI, automation, and digital, what kind of employment opportunities are there? So if you look at it, at UK and EU in particular, we see that there is a requirement for AI engineer to plan, design, deploy, and maintain those use cases. Data scientists who handle the data or making the data available in the right format or in the right way to use that. AI product managers are required by companies who are generating AI applications. They need them to work on new features, on the marketing side, on the scalability, on their roadmaps, and so on. And the people also looking at that AI itself, there are people specifically required to ensure that AI is used safely, ethically, and it is governed in the right way. So they never used to be positioned like AI safety. Now they are there because everything is happening online, everything is connected to internet. Cybersecurity consultants are also in high demand to where critical applications are all running on these platforms. They need to be secured. So huge demand. I have stats after this that would reflect at how many positions there are. Similarly, on the B2B side, digital commerce managers are required, AI pricing scientists are required, procurement data engineers, ESG compliance specialists are again required, which are in high demand. So you don't need to take the notes, we'll share the presentation that will be helpful to you. On the telecom side, we see there'll be a massive demand for network and cloud engineering. As I said, there is a trend of the telecom application moving to the cloud. So you would see a lot of that adoption. AI, like in all industries in telecom, they have a massive use. AI network operation engineers. So they will be working very closely to try to resolve the first level faults, second level fault as much through AI as possible. Security architects. And as I mentioned, that energy is a pretty big area in the telecom side. So sustainability leads are required to control the carbon footprint and the ESG compliances of telecom companies. On the green energy side, you need renewable energy engineers, you need, more grids are coming, you need those specialists, you need energy data analyst, reporting. And then a big area is the carbon capture. A lot of factories or plants which are coming in, so they are embedding carbon capture plants where the carbon emitted goes into a plant and it tries to convert that carbon into other forms to stop the emission. So carbon storage, carbon processing is itself a big field in UK and the other places. So if you look at the right, that there is about a 18.9% increase CAGR, which is a cumulative growth rate in the EV sector. And we see that right now, every every 1 out of 4 vehicles is EV, and this trend is set to continue. So more EV car means more EV charger installations. More EV charge installations mean a bigger electricity infrastructure to be put in. And similarly, as I mentioned, the compliances, ESG, which is environmental, social, and I think government compliances has to be met. So you need consultants for that. In a summary, if you look at sector wise, and this shows that there is a requirement of 2.2. This is a base employment figure of 2.2 million. There is the growth rate is 10 to 15%, and 220,000 to 330,000 jobs are expected in digital and technology alone. In AI and data, similarly, the base employment is 300,000, but its expected jobs are 60,000 to 90,000. Cybersecurity, again, 160 to 24K. And I have also attached a sheet where um, I would like, and this also has the sources where these jobs are being highlighted. And it's very important to see where do we go. These are the jobs, but we don't find them. So what I've tried to do is to will share with you a list of companies where it defines that what kind of jobs they have, what kind of sector they are in, and where are we finding the scientists. So this shows SMEs. SME, the small medium enterprises. Scale up companies are high growth companies which are growing by 20%. But these are the 100 companies we have listed primarily in the UK and Europe. But it will be helpful if you are in a similar field to study them, um, remain in touch with the developments, attend exhibitions where these companies are coming in. You have to sort of make a relationship with them, either to join them or even to have a business partnership with these companies. So as I said, be part of the trend. Don't go against the trend. You can do that, but build yourself to a certain level to get there. And then there is a list of companies which are the top companies. Now everybody is applying to Microsoft, Google, AWS. So, I mean, I hope you get there, but just don't focus on the top companies out there. Focus on these small to medium sized companies also, because they're more open in hiring, giving a chance to people to come and work for them. And this also includes what's a typical salary range for a starter to a senior. Now, as I said, these are new and emerging fields. A lot of them you won't find people more than, probably 5 year experience in these domains. So new people come and struggle. Even I know a lot of cybersecurity people coming in and, um, not being able to get an opportunity to start. So this is where internships, work experience, and getting to work with small to medium sized companies would be helpful for you guys. Uh, and this is the indication. So the previous one I mentioned to you, what is the demand in the next 5 years? But this sheet shows you that what is the current demand in these areas for data scientists, ML engineers, DevOps, cybersecurity. So even currently, an energy side, there is 82,000 vacancy still there to be tapped into. So this is it from the presentation side. I'm open to any questions or any queries or any feedback if I can give.
Jazakallah, Jamil, that's very insightful. I think we have some participants who have raised their hand who would like to ask a question. So I'll unmute Munir Deen Saab.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum, Jahangir Sahab. It was
Yes,
thank you for your interesting presentation. Just what did your views on a couple of things? You mentioned the population demographic, around the world, the concerns about the demographics of age and so on. And when
yeah,
when you look at someone thing like a continent like Africa, you got about about 20% of the world population is there, and a huge amount of it is under 25 years old. And that demographic trend seems to be very positive. And the other things that you mentioned, like minerals that are being used for either silicon manufacture or for alternative energy or uranium and so on. And for batteries, all of those minerals are found. Nearly 80% of them are found on the continent of Africa. And that makes me feel that if you look at both those aspects, also the energy transition and the ability to use alternative energy sources, the need to build data centers, the land for those, and providing the energy of those. Does it not, in your mind, do you have a view on the African continent? Because obviously with the Jamaat's huge presence in these parts of the world and in that continent, that all of these things for potential people who are looking to invest, Africa does, in terms of this new world, both on AI, particularly on the AI and energy generation, and the huge opportunities even in fintech, right? That Africa would perhaps be a continent that, like Asia, would benefit from the human demographics as well as the natural resources that Africa as a continent has.
Yeah, Manisha, I think it's a very good question. And from the future point of view, I see that Africa is a very, very promising market. Um, Now the positives are that the population is young. Um, the skill level is improving. I was at an event with the this Kenyan High Commission, and I witnessed this firsthand that they are really investing heavily on IT competency, and they are training themselves in the same way Indians were doing about 20, 30, 40 years ago. So in terms of talent, yes. In terms of opportunity in that continent, yes. Um, to me, it's slightly a longer term thing. If you look at just 5 year horizon, it might not be the right horizon. If you're looking at the next 15, 20, 25, 50 years, so definitely Africa is a market to watch out for. They have the talent, they have the minerals. It's about who which businesses and individuals can really work for long term and nurture. I mean, I know a lot of people who have gone to Africa and they have done very, very well because there is not much competition. There is opportunity. The cost of operation is very, very low. So definitely, Africa cannot be ignored. It will be painful because it is like a real startup mode. But Africa has matured over the years. It's developing quite fast. But Africa still is a very small portion of the world, like a GDP. But this is something, if you look from a long-term point of view, definitely. I mean, even a company like us, we were thinking about Philippines and India alone. We are thinking of setting up a workforce center uh, in Africa for future manpower.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the GDP contribution is perhaps only 2 to 3%, right? But
Yeah.
20% of the world population. And that, and you're seeing huge investment going on by the Chinese and also by the Indians into
Yes.
Africa, right? I think the telecommunication company
Yeah.
of India, has made huge investments there. So,
Yes.
and I was just thinking, I mean, the biggest issues in Africa really are governance, right? And security, transparency, and all of those aspects. And I just wonder
Yes.
that whether, because of our community's presence in helping in other ways, we have schools, we have the hospitals, that whether from a business perspective, people like yourselves can help those. I mean, really, for success in that part of the world, you need a partnership of both private and government partnerships. because government has really not been very effective or efficient.
Yeah.
And unless you combine in emerging markets both private indigenous capital and government capital together, then you can make things happen in a more
Yeah.
efficient manner.
Yeah, my cousin, I think you already know Mansoor Sheikh. He represents DFID there, right?
Right.
And they're doing massive investments in the same model, private-public partnership. So I think in terms of the connectivity of Jamaat and people in Sanato Tijarat or attendee events, we can definitely probably have a more detailed workshop just on Africa because futuristically there is no doubt about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jazakallah for the question there. I think before I add Abdul Rahman Sahib, who's also got his hand up, just remind everyone about the survey. I'm about to launch that now, so please, if you could take a moment to provide your feedback. Abdul Rahman Sahib, your hand was raised, please, if you'd like to ask your question.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, I'm into the IT sector and more or less the Oracle segment of it. But my issue there is when you were making the presentation earlier on, you spoke about the opportunities that were out and that is out there in the IT sector. But my problem is, what is the opening for someone of elderly age, like someone in the Azarullah age brackets, now trying to fit in properly into the IT sector, considering the fact that the younger generation, they are actually fast moving up in that area. And, for a businessman, it will rather go for someone that is young, agile, and fast thinking than someone within the bracket of the Anzarola age group trying to move. So I'm now looking at in the UK environment, what is the opportunity in that area for someone in that age bracket? Then also, secondly, you spoke about opportunities in Africa, and I think I just came into the UK, and the Majlis Kudam Lamadia in Nigeria, they've been working on empowerment of the members. I don't know whether we all heard about it. They've been training people in the IT environment, and I don't know if there's any way there could be collaboration in that area for our members there. At least they've had about one or two graduation of recent, which was gracefully approved by the Amir Sahib in Nigeria. So I don't know whether you have heard about it. But back to my first question, I'm looking at moving into the UK IT environment. I've not been able to move in due to one or two restrictions that has been hindering me back. Because I'm an Oracle Apex developer certified, but the issue that I'm having right now is to get into the environment, but I'm having an SC barrier, that security clearance barrier. Is there any way someone like me can go into that area without that barrier holding me back?
Which barrier are you saying? Security barrier or the age barrier?
Security clearance now.
Okay. I understand. So Abdul Rahman sir, two things. I have some people in the organization whose age is 65 plus, and they are working more efficiently than people who are 20 plus in my organization. They get up like 5 o'clock in the morning, and they have the maturity is there. So I know age is a barrier, but I have witnessed myself that people who are committed, um, I mean, age is not a barrier to them. In fact, their ability, their commitment, and because of the dealing with the humans with slightly senior people is always much better. The young people are finding it very difficult to communicate and get work done, with people. When with age, you get that experience. And now the trainings and those things are so easy to follow that I mean, skills can be learned. That's number one. Number two, not all jobs require security clearance. Security clearance is required typically in the government sector, and that too in the defense sector in sensitive industries. But IT is in use with almost all the sectors here. So uh, you must find opportunities. I will share the list also of the companies here. That shouldn't be a barrier. Now, the other problem is that in UK, because there's so many people applying for similar jobs, for less jobs, that they tend not to pick up people who have little experience or people who are of a certain age. So that is where we can discuss 101 also. But I think it's a combination of a skill, work experience, and not and looking outside the defense, outside the sensitive sectors, which is the government and the defense. So that should be okay.
Okay, okay. Can I have a
And
one-on-one session?
secondly, yes, you can. I mean, I will share my email address. You can set up the session with me and my phone number also.
Okay.
So we can do that. But or you can write to info@sanatotijarat.com. We will get it anyways. Tommy sir, please suggest how should they should all contact through info@sanatotijarat email address or.
Yeah, or the support email address, which we can share as well. I'll share that in the chat, inshallah.
Okay, please, if you can share that. You were mentioning about the school in Nigeria. You meant that how could these students there could be trained on these technologies? Is that what you meant?
What I'm saying is that they are trained by the IT, by members in Nigeria that are IT specialists.
Oh, okay, okay,
Trained, and they've had about 2 graduates ceremony.
okay.
So I don't know how there could be collaboration between the two, because I heard someone was talking about, having looking into Africa and
Yeah,
see how they can invest in Africa. And I'm only bringing it up so that maybe the UK Jamaat and the the Nigerian Jamaat can also look at it together in order to help our brothers that are coming up, that are already trained in Nigeria or even in other countries in Africa as well. Because I know about Nigeria very well. They have the training. They've done the training, and I think from my discussion with the former Sadar, I think the Ozuru Ayatollah actually blessed the scheme. I'm not sure about it. I don't want to be certain about, but I think it's a scheme that was blessed by the Ozuru. I don't know, maybe if we can also look at it and help our brothers as well.
sure. So in that view, two things can happen. Number one, it's very common in IT that people are working remotely. So IT companies have people working in Philippines, Bangladesh, Pakistan. So if you can share the profiles of those people, so we can look into having them work for UK company, even in our company, and they can work remotely. That could be one way. Secondly, the top students, we can try to give them work experience in UK. If they get the visa, they come down for 3 4 months, and once you really provide work experience to the people and you work with them, face to face, it gives the confidence for the companies to engage them and sponsor them also. So I think it should work both ways. They can work while remotely in Nigeria, or the top students can also be made to get. Sanato Jarat can help you get work experiences in UK. If it's networking, IT, or the fiber side, we can assist also. I mean, we can't do in volumes, but at least we can begin that um, process, and we can definitely look into it, because that is the way it should be working. Exposure and the movement is the key to success.
Jazakallah Abdul Rahman Sahab. We just due to time reason, we can only take sort of one more question. So Harshit Sahab, he's got his hand raised. I'll let him come on immediately so we've got about 4 to 5 minutes left.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you are all doing well. So my name is
Walaikum salam.
Bashir, and I'm recently come from Pakistan in February. I'm student here, and I'm doing masters in data science and artificial intelligence. So I'm tell you about my background. So I have done my bachelor's in software engineering, and I have some experience by working personally on some projects and all the things. So as you mentioned that you can help us getting the UK work experience. So I'm trying from last 6 months applying different jobs in the field of machine learning or data science, but I'm not getting good response from the company in the UK. I don't know what's the gap. I know that I don't have the company or industrial experience, but I have personally worked on some uh, bigger projects. So currently I'm doing my masters, and I have done some personal projects and also some research work in the field of artificial intelligence, like dealing with some medical data sets and other things. So how can I reach you to get uh, UK experience, or how can I uh, reach out to the companies to get higher chance of getting hired by companies?
Yeah. So Hashir, one is the list that I shared. If you can connect with those companies on LinkedIn, on the sites, that is one thing. And secondly, if you can put your if you the, on the chat, there is a you can put your request that you're getting, you want work experience. So we'll help you on the same to get experience within UK.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm dropping my portfolio, my email as well, so you can check also. So then we can, if you want, then I can ask you some more things.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you
And
so.
we can meet in person also, not a problem.
Yeah, no worries. It means a lot. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Tommy sir, if you can give email address also, they're saying that the site is not working probably.
I think we can maybe squeeze in one more question, and we have one in the
Yeah.
chat. Muzaffar Sir was asked a question. I think it's a really important question, and probably one that many of us do sort of think about. For many MDs in the UK who want to start a business with limited capital, for example, someone currently working as a taxi or delivery driver, retail assistant, what specific realistic business opportunities do you see emerging over the next 3 to 5 years for them?
Yeah, so Muzaffar, depending, I've seen that a lot of taxi drivers here, retail assistants, are pretty, at least they have a bachelor's background or they have a master's from India, Pakistan. They're educated people. Um, so so if you look at if they transform themselves in upskilling themselves, they can become EV technicians, supervisors. There is a lot of demand even on the telecom fiber technicians area, where they can open their own companies, become like a sole trader or as a subcontractor to the companies. In that case, they wouldn't need much capital. The only expense they would have to do is probably training, and that too, companies which are doing well, they as long as these people have the right to work, they are willing to sponsor them in terms of their training and the visa also. The problem is that these people have to be driven enough, that they go from the um, easiness of a single job, because in business, then you have to be multidimensional. You could be doing finance one day, you could be doing the work one day, you could be an accountant one day, you could be selling one day. It's a mix, right? But I've seen a lot of people who have evolved from very simple positions into opening their own companies. They benefit both in terms of income, optimize taxation, and they set up their own businesses also. So, like one of the subcontractors we have in a company, that person was a telephone assistant. He has a company, and he employs now about 20 people.
Douglas. Um, yeah, I think I'm just waiting for someone to post the email address because I don't think the link that's been posted is working. So I'm mindful not to shut off
Okay, let me. I think I.
all until until that is posted.
Yeah, God, I was actually checking to see why the website is down. It should not be down. Well, I'm just chatting to the Jamat IT team. But anyway, in the meantime, I'll post the
Email
stuff
address.
email address. Exactly.
And then I think if everyone can, yeah, just take that away with them at least and get in touch. And then that's what this is for, to see if we can provide some support in whatever which way possible.
I'm trying to share a file. I don't know if I can share a file. If I share a file with you, you can put this into this group also, Shams.
I can try and put it in. Yeah, if you send it to me.
Okay, let me first.
You're sharing your content.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll just so that you can at least share in the group and they would have it. Yes. So this is the file of the companies which I had shared with you earlier that they can have. Oh, jobs.
Okay, so the email address is there for everyone at least to take. And whilst you're sending me that, just
So I have shared both emails with you. If you can share these files, it includes the presentation and it also includes the list of the companies. They can like your Hashir and others. They can at least go to those companies.
okay. I'll have to work out how to share it. So, yeah.
So meanwhile, if anybody has a question, I'm happy to answer.
So I'll share that. I've shared the presentation and there's another one you've sent. Okay, UK roles. Fine.
Yes,
Uh,
brother.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Shamsa, we can take this.
Yeah, I think we'll take it as I'm just posting
Okay.
this, but we literally have like a minute or two. I think people
Okay.
can make way to Namaz as well. So yeah, if you'd like to quickly ask your question, please. We'll start
Yeah,
first.
nowadays, as we all are seeing, technologies are evolving day by day, like from machine learning to generative AI to agentic AI, now RAGs, and more advanced and advanced AI technologies are coming day by day. So how can we like stick to one thing? Like I'm when I was in my graduation, so we see the boom of machine learning. So I just start learning machine learning, and then within just months, then machine learning just faded up, and then generative AI booms are going on. So same is going till now. Every 2 or 3 months, new technology is getting the part into the industry. So how can we like manage these things? If you have better suggestion for the juniors like me and the students.
So Hashir, I'm 48 now and I'm still studying, right? Now your roles, I mean, this field, you have to add up to your skills, but your roles will change, right? You become a developer, then you become, let's say, architect, and then you become, let's say, into solution architect or pre-sales. Your role would evolve, right? So the the training and the development changes as per your roles, and you might be in the future, you might just be into project management, right? Or program management, or you might be in the future just be into selling. So, but if you are a depends what role you're performing presently. But if you're like in a developing or those kind of roles, I think learning of these technologies will always be in depth. But as you move up the layer, then your understanding is required. You don't necessarily have to do it with your hands. But anyways, if you look at the way technology is evolving, there is less of a coding required now, right? You need to give the logics and so on. So your learning cannot stop, Hashir. And you should never think about that the learning stops. It's you have to evolve, and but you should grow out so that you're not doing the hard, laborious kind of a jobs um, that you were doing in your young years, right?
So what do you think? Learning coding languages are still necessary, or we just have to
I mean,
master the tools that are coming nowadays?
as I said again, some languages you, in my view, I'm not a computer science guy, but in my view, some languages you should know. Others, the concepts are not very different, right? So depends on the nature of your job, right? It is the environment is now, it's a low coding environment, correct? It's more to do with the logic and the business outcomes and so on. So I would say that the basics always help, but moving on, use as much tooling as possible to make your life easy.
Jazakallah for that, and Jazakallah for the questions as well. It's very engaging and very insightful presentation. So I'll close it off there because we are already sort of quite a bit over time. But Jazakallah yourself and for
Yeah.
your presentation. And just a reminder to everyone that our talk sessions will start again in the new year. So just keep an eye out for the new schedule that will be released to you, hopefully within the next sort of week or two at most. And then we'll continue these sort of very beneficial talks. Jazakallah everyone, and I think we'll close it at that.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Khuda Hafiz.